Hey, this is David Perdue from MyNAMS.com and the Novice to Advanced Marketing System, and this is our 4th day in a row of doing these live Hangouts with previous, past, and future instructors at the, did I say previous, past? Previous and current and future instructors at the NAMS workshop. We have had a really good time with these guys. They've done a great job. They've answered some serious questions, and we have a whole new crew today. I don't think anybody, oh, Janice is the only one who has had a prior engagement with us. Everybody else here today is online, and I have to point out that Kevin Riley is here from Osaka, Japan, and it's 2:30 in the morning in Japan. Kevin gets the award for most dedicated instructor in the last 5 minutes. So there you go. So what we do, if you've been on these before, you have seen that we ask basically 3 questions, and we let the instructors answer these, and we've gotten some incredibly good answers in the last 3 days. So the bar is high. Then you can ask your questions in here too about your business, about anything you want to ask about your business, about doing business online, about struggles that you're having, whatever it is. This is an opportunity for you to get some really serious brain power working for you. So don't hesitate to put questions in the question box here in the chat on the right. We have a ton of people in already, and the first thing I would ask you to do is tweet this. Just go ahead and put out there, join us at, what is it? What is the link for this? Oh, hold on a second. I forgot the link. N12 preview, I think. Oh, well, join us. Just use your link at the top there and have people join us for this webinar. Now, we're going to go ahead and get started. I think the first thing I'm going to do is go right across the bottom here and introduce everybody. On the left, my left, probably your right, is Chris Cobb. Say hello, Chris.
Hey. How's everybody?
Next to her is Janice Pettit.
Hey there.
Next to her is Karen Thaxton.
Hi.
Oh, we're segregated, I see. Women on the left, men on the right. So Kevin is in the middle. Kevin Riley is in the middle. And Kevin is gone to picture, not video, so that's okay. And then we have Stephen Memel. Memel or Memel, Stephen?
You got it right, Memel.
Memel, Stephen Memel. Stephen's in LA, right?
Well, actually, right now I'm in Las Vegas at CEO Space.
Oh, cool. Cool. And then we have Tony Laddig.
Howdy, dude.
Tony, you've been to how many NAMS workshops now?
Gosh, man, I don't know. It's been a couple years. A few years, maybe 5 or 6 or so.
Number 12 is coming up. Let's see, Kevin was at number 2 all the way from Japan. Chris Cobb, you've been to every one.
Woohoo!
All 12. And whenever Chris is around, I get to tell the story about Chris coming to the first one, which I loved. It's one of my favorite stories. Because Chris was not doing business online at that point. You were basically retired, right?
Yes, yes.
You just retired,
Company, yes, sold my business, retired. Thought I was going to just hang out.
Uh-huh. And so you were kind of skeptical, and you were kind of investigating, is this online business stuff for real? And Chris was in the back of the room the first day, sitting in the very back row. We've got a picture that proves this, by the way. That Chris was in, there was about 65 people there, and we had our break, morning break, and the next thing I know, Chris is front row, dead center, and scribbling notes as fast as she can because she was all about doing this. She had realized right away that that was the thing that she wanted to do, was build a business online, and she did it. Starting NAMS2, I think you even did a product at NAMS2, is that right?
That's right. Took my little flip camera and interviewed people.
And that became your first product, was an interview product. So one thing you're going to hear a lot about is action taking, and that is one of the best things that we have done is really focus on the action that we take at the workshop. The workshop's set up so that you have the first half of the session is teaching and instruction, The second part of the session is implementation. So when you come to the workshop, you want to make sure that you bring your computer. We have people actually show up without their computers. And don't bring your iPad, bring your computer. If you have a laptop, you want to bring that. So that will be helpful to you. So the three questions we ask are, have you ever been stuck? How did you get over it? What's your biggest problem? How did you get over that? And what's your secret weapon to doing business successfully online? So let's go with the first question, and we're going to start with Tony. It is, have you ever been stuck? And how did you get unstuck, Tony?
Yeah, I was stuck the other day.
And you called a tow truck?
Oh, wait, do you mean like in our career or this week?
Yeah, well, actually, one of the responses we got yesterday was, when am I not stuck? You know, so.
No, I have been stuck, actually. I think we all have. It's a pretty, like, you're not moving forward in business if you don't get stuck. If you're standing still, you don't have to worry about getting stuck because there's nothing to get stuck into because you're not moving. And so anytime you're taking forward progress or making forward progress, you're bound to get stuck. And what I always discovered, for me personally, was that the limitation that I was encountering was almost never technology, never strategy, never anything else. I was the one that was in my way in nearly every case. And, and so it was a matter of being honest with myself and identifying that there was a limitation in my mindset or my belief or something. And once I identified that, it really helped me get unstuck pretty quickly.
Okay, thanks. That was really good. And to tell the truth, we hear that a lot from people about them being their own problem, right? And that whole thing of standing in your own way, we all do that. One of the things that I hear from students who come is, you know, I just get stuck all the time, and I'm so frustrated because it just seems like everybody else is always swimming forward, you know, and there's no problems or issues. So, you know, I think we're going to dispel that pretty quickly here today. Stephen.
Yes.
Getting stuck. Have you ever been stuck in your business?
Oh, absolutely. I do have to share one thing with you about the bringing your computer thing, which just is so interesting about people because I work within the entertainment industry as well as in the entrepreneurial world. And when I do workshops with guitarists, and I ask them, put on a strap, you know, let's get your strap on, I want you out of a chair. You go, was I supposed to bring a strap? Anyway, little digression, but yes, I've been stuck, and I have to agree really with Tony that what it ultimately comes down to is not so much, oh, this can be a problem, the activities that are needed to implement. It becomes the clarity on what you're implementing, and there's a kind of lack of focus. You may really kind of know what you're putting out there, but you haven't got the word or the phrase. You haven't created that clear channel to do it, and it kind of keeps you from moving forward. And the minute you find that thing or get that focus, then boom, you know, movement starts, and you get two things. One, you get the movement, and two, if you're smart, you look at how much clarity enables you to be in action.
That's great. I'm writing this down. Get the movement and the clarity.
Right.
Okay. So we're moving to Kevin. Kevin, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can't see you, but I can hear you.
I don't know what happened. I seem to have gone solid picture in the bottom there.
Well, that's probably
settings,
you probably don't want to see you anyway, right?
It's probably better anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, same question, I take it?
Same question. Stuck.
Yeah, well, as everybody else said, yeah, that happens all the time. I actually been stuck for a long time with my new business on a logo. It's something that I come up with one design, but it didn't look good across all platforms. You know what I mean? It looked okay across the top of a website, but it didn't fit into, like, for example, a Facebook profile or you need to use this. And I was like, I was going on and on with this. Hey, I'm back. No, it's not somebody else. I was going on and on with this problem. I was going on and on with this problem, and then last week I finally solved it. I just sat down and went to Google, and I started Googling reverse, negative space logos, and got some ideas from that, and went over to my studio, where I have my other computer now that has the flash on it, and bang, drew up the logo I wanted, and I'm very, very happy with it finally. So, but it took about a year to get around to doing that.
So, but the key for you was finding inspiration, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was getting inspiration. I mean, there's inspiration around me all the time, but I wasn't getting inspiration for this one thing. Everything else with that business, with my new business I'm doing, was there, but that was the one thing I've been stuck on for a very long time. And then I just sat down and said, okay, this week I'm going to solve this problem. Actually, it was on my to-do list. I put it on there and I said, I'm going to make the logo, and just did it. And that's the thing. A lot of times when we get stuck is that we allow ourselves to maybe get sidetracked and allow that thing to hold us back. But if we just sit down and do it, it gets done.
Well, it sounds like you also experience something I experience when I get stuck sometimes, which is, if I'm stuck on a specific problem, sometimes I avoid it until I can't do it any longer.
Yeah.
And that happens.
Yeah, I do that with anything that I don't like.
Exactly. I don't want to deal with this. I'll just turn my head. Okay, thanks. So, Karen, we're talking about getting unstuck. Have you been stuck?
Oh, yeah, of course. I guess it was probably about 5 years into my business. I was absolutely slammed, and it was one of these situations where you loved what you were doing, but you just couldn't breathe because there was so much going on. And at that point in time, thought that because I was a small solopreneur at the time, that I had to do everything myself. And if I didn't know how to do it, I had to learn how to do everything myself. I am not a techno geek. I am techno challenged to the max. And learning how to do all of these things that I needed to do with technology in my business was really throwing me for a loop. So I finally, through talking to a lot of different people, realized that it was actually going to save me money to spend some money and outsource a lot of this stuff that I was trying to do by myself, because I wasn't doing it well. It was taking way too much time, and it wasn't turning out the way I wanted it to. So I got a big lesson in outsourcing with that, and also with hiring a VA, because there were a lot of other things that needed to get done that I didn't have time to do. So I was missing opportunities. Got somebody that could follow up with people, that could chase down leads, that could help with the website, doing the things on the website that I didn't want to or didn't have time to do. And because I spent a little bit of money on outsourcing, it saved me a lot of time, and I was able to use that time on money-making ventures for the business. So actually spending the money on that made me money instead of being an expense.
Okay, cool. So getting unstuck was all about outsourcing and learning the lesson of leverage, right?
Absolutely. Let somebody else do what you don't want to do. I mean, if it's something you need to learn how to do, it's a skill you have to have, absolutely learn how to do it. But if not, find somebody that can do it faster and cheaper than you could.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Joel Kahn, welcome into the house. You're up next.
Uh-oh.
Keeper of the Flying Monkeys. I love your lower third. Keeper of the Flying Monkeys. All right. So one of the things that we're talking about here, Joel, is thank you very much. Is how do you get? Have you ever been stuck?
Are you kidding me? I'm perpetually stuck. Life is a series of being stuck, right? Because we're always going from point A to point F, and then we zigzag and we hit D, and there's these roadblocks. And I know you had a great question, so I'll let you finish it.
Well, that was it. Have you been stuck? How do you get unstuck?
I'm stuck right now. I'm stuck in this chair talking to you.
Stuck to the pleather.
I am. It's just taking that next step, and really the internal drive and motivation has to be there. Sometimes, I got to confess, the older I get, sometimes being stuck is not a horrible thing. It's your body and your mind's way of saying, slow down, chill out. What you think might be so important might not be that important. If I'm not driven and passionate about what I'm doing and I'm just kind of stuck in this place, sometimes I'll just take a bath there, right? Just it's okay to be stuck for a time. Maybe that's just slow down and enjoy the moment and stop and smell the roses and engage with the people that are around you. It's not. I'm learning it's not always about doing. We're human beings, not human doings. Right. And I've made a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money. I'm making a lot of money again, and it's not about the money. It's about living, and it's about the process. And so what I used to think was stuck is actually just a season of life, whether it's, for that day, that week, that month, or that year that we might need to go through to develop as, to that next level of who we are becoming. So it might not be a businessy approach, but it's really organic, and that's what's working for me.
That's perfect. One of the things I learned in the corporate world when I was out there was that it was always crisis management, right? So hair on fire kind of things. And one of the things I learned as the old guy in the office was if I ignored a problem for about 6 hours, it usually just go away. Somebody else would fix it. I just had to be the guy that kind of said, oh yeah, that's a problem, and then just let somebody else fix it, because it would usually either wasn't really a problem or it would just disappear by itself. So, Janice.
Yeah.
Stuck. You talked yesterday a little bit about being stuck.
Now I'll answer it again because I came up with another one. So yesterday I said that, you go through these cycles in your business where you think everything's going great and you kind of settle in, and then suddenly after a certain amount of time it doesn't work anymore and you're stuck. But another way that I've really I started thinking about this, David, and I realized a couple of months ago I was stuck with a technology problem, and the team that I used were dragging their feet. They weren't getting it fixed, and every day I was getting angrier and more frustrated and digging my heels in. And suddenly after a while I realized I was putting way too much energy into it, and I was getting that head against the brick wall feeling, and I realized when you get the head against the brick wall feeling, it might be time to just do what Joel said, just walk away, take a breath. Maybe it's not what you're meant to be doing at that time. Maybe there's a message there. So sometimes being stuck is just step back, focus on something else, let it breathe for a few days, and a solution comes to you. So, for me, that's a big lesson because I just want to keep barreling in, and sometimes I just have to step back.
Having been in the newspaper business, I had a lot of friends who were writers, and one of the things that I learned from them right away was when they wrote something, whether it was an article or anything that was not on deadline, they always put it in the drawer instead of sending it off, because putting it in the drawer, and that even tells you how old I am, because they had it on paper instead of in their computer. They would put it in the drawer and then come back to it the next day or the day after that and see all kinds of things that they wanted to change to it, because it was completely different mindset. So that's a really good point about putting stuff aside and coming back to it when you're with fresh eyes, basically. Chris, stuck.
Of course. And I may talk to maybe some of the newer folks because I'm probably closer to the newer side of it than a lot of our panel here. But I think you can get stuck when you adopt someone else's strategy, business model, whatever, without knowing the details of what makes it successful. So you kind of see the end result, but you don't see all the things that it took to get there and what made that other strategy successful. And so you kind of make that up on your own, and you go through the process and you start digging that hole, and it gets deeper and deeper, and so you're not going anywhere and you get stuck in the hole, and you just got to stop digging and figure out what was it that made that strategy successful. And maybe it's not even a strategy that would be successful for you. There's not just one that's successful for everybody from beginning to end. So I think for the newer folks that are here and will come to NAMS, that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think it's really important. We always want to be able to have a place to start, but your friend and mine, Mark Hendricks used to tell us all the time that my grandmother's recipe for apple pie is not going to taste the same if you make it versus her making it, right? I mean, no two recipes ever come out the same. So what you're looking for is a step-by-step, and then you add your own steps to make it work.
David, am I encouraging anarchy if I...
No, go ahead, jump in.
Okay. I want to say, Christine, I'm fairly new like you. I'm experienced. I have a successful business, but I've only brought it online in the last several years. And I've gone through that phase just like you, and I just love what you said, because as I've been looking and listening deeper into all the sales letters of the gurus, most of them have part of a story about, I learned this technique and that technique, and none of them worked. And then I finally figured it out. So I'm going, well, wait a second. They didn't follow anybody's technique. They figured it out. So why should I follow theirs?
Right. Oops. We are going to learn that, though, right? So, all right. Anybody else want any other comments about getting stuck or unstuck?
Yeah, actually, I'll chime in and say one more thing about that. When you're stuck, it's a really good thing to do state change. Do something different, like get yourself away from the desk and find a task that you have, something that you'd enjoy doing that you haven't done in a long time. If you're by the ocean, go to the beach. If you're near the mountains, go drive out to the mountains. If maybe a friend or a family member you haven't talked to in a long time. State change is a great way to shake things up upstairs, and it's the unexpected things that can move you from one place to the next.
So that's really a good case for taking a vacation, isn't it? Because
or buying a Mustang.
Or buying a Mustang. All right. So I always try to think of it from the perspective of the newbies as well, because people who are just getting started get stuck a lot, right? Because they really feel like there's so much to learn, and having that, Kevin, you are one of those guys who creates products that are pictures, step-by-step blueprint models, and I jumped all over your stuff when I was building my business in the beginning, as you know, and I also jumped all over it because I knew I could sell it, and I loved selling your stuff in the beginning too. For the newbies who always find themselves stuck, do you have any kind of special information for them? Guidance?
Basically, just step by step is the way to do anything, as far as I'm concerned. So themselves, to sit down and make yourself. I still use a to-do list. I wish I had one kicking around here right now. My office is an absolute mess. It becomes like a hurricane went through here every day. But I actually write on paper. I write down on paper exactly what I'm going to do and just go. I also go step by step myself. That's why I like teaching that way, because that's the way I like to learn. I like things laid out for me. I may make changes to the way things are done, but I like it laid out for me. I like to go through like that. So I think that's really important. A lot of people I've seen who had trouble when they're newbies is that they're not going such a step by step. What they're doing is they're just going off and getting distracted.
Right.
And doing a couple, something here, then something over here, instead of just going, okay, step one, I get this done. Step two, I get this done. If you follow that, you're going to get to the goal, and that's important in anything you do.
So Tony, I'm coming back to you for a second, because you're one of the best teachers and you always get huge rating boosts when we do our evaluations of our teachers because of the way you teach, because you teach in such a focused, here's the next thing you do kind of way. Mm-hmm. So when you get students in there who are saying, I don't understand, or I'm stuck on this, and they get frustrated, what do you do?
Well, one of the one of the unique approaches that I use when it comes to teaching, and I'm with Kevin, and teaching step by step. His products are actually one of the ones that I paid attention to early on myself. His recipe products that he had out and all that, they were awesome. And but one of the things that I've noticed was that methodology is as important as step by step. Teaching the method behind, the reason why you're taking the next step. What's the method? Because if you learn the method, then you can apply it to other things, not just creating this specific widget. And so what I've really learned and encouraged my students to do is, and it's amazing, I've had actual arguments with people, especially newbies, where they keep like trying to look ahead, but what about this? But what about this? But what about this? Don't ask that question. Do what I'm telling you to do right now. Take this step, and then the next step, and then the next step. Yeah, but what about that comes later? Just do this, and it's amazing. Like, they think they know where they're heading, but they don't because they haven't gotten there yet, and so that's one of the things that I really try to do. And I've noticed a lot of teachers out there will teach what to do rather than how to do. And I think there's an important distinction there, because what to do doesn't necessarily get you to the end result as much as how to do something step by step.
Good answer. Good. Thank you. I love the idea of teaching the methodology behind all of that. That's a key point, I think. So before we move on, we need to have a commercial break from our sponsor for a second, and the sponsor being NAMS12 is coming up. NAMS12 in August 1, 2, and 3 in Atlanta. And guess what? Right here on this page, you can go to NAMS12 and see what we've got cooking here. And I'm showing you on the screen. And if you click on the registration page over here, you can come in. You see it's $497 right now. That's a $200 discount from the price for the final price of the workshop. But I'm going to give you a coupon code, and it's NAMS Hangout. Now, there are 3 ways to get a better deal on the NAMS workshop. The first is using the coupon code, NAMS Hangout. That'll drop it another $100. So you can get in for a lower rate with NAMS Hangout coupon code. The second is you can join the Insiders Club at namsinsiders.com, and that is a $7 trial and $37 a month. You join the Insiders Club, and you get the workshop for the Insiders price, which is $197. So you can actually save a bunch of money by becoming an insider. And one of the reasons we push that so hard to make that a member benefit is because the insiders get additional training, additional support, and it's really, really a great way to follow on after a live event like that. And you continue to get training every month from us. The third way, which I just added yesterday, is if you pay for the NAMS Insiders Club annual payment, which is $365 a day, $365 annual payment, you will get the workshop free. So you get a ticket to the workshop as part of your annual payment. So that's a pretty good deal. And you just go to NAMS, nextnams.com, and we'll hook you up there with the best way to get into the system. So that is the commercial. Now, I wanted to come back to our question. The next question is biggest problem. Biggest problem. What's your biggest problem in business, and how do you overcome it? This is different from getting stuck. Stuck is, just daily life. Biggest problem is something that really had you befuddled. So, who wants to take that?
I'll start with it.
Okay.
The biggest problem that I had, and I think a lot of people that are here live are going to relate to this, is shiny object syndrome. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur and a creator. I want to do it all. And it doesn't take much to catch my attention, 10 seconds into the previous task. And the discipline that I've learned is that if I want to get anything done, I have to stay focused on one thing. I don't care how awesome the other ideas are. So I have journals everywhere, including Evernote online, so that if I get an idea, I'll write it down and then file it and stay on task with what I'm working on, or you never get anything done. You know, you end up with 75% of a whole lot of things done and zero money coming in. And so that's a big problem that I've encountered personally that I feel like I've gained at least some success over.
So staying focused is what you're saying. Your biggest problem was the ability to stay focused. That's come up before this week as well. And yeah, who's next?
I'll go. You know what? You know what? The lovely and talented Steve Memel, after you, my friend.
No, I could never go before you.
But I insist.
All right. So, first of all, I just met David recently at another event and was very honored to be invited to participate in this. And I was excited just because of who he is, but now hearing all of you speak, I'm also really excited. Because I think that any great teacher, any great doer, it basically gets to a similar place and just express where that place is differently. So the whole idea of one thing is so powerful, and I'm a why underneath person too, and because unless you understand why, you're just doing window dressing. And so what happens, what causes the problem of it being so hard to do that just one thing is a number of things. One is, first, everybody's just craze about speed. Speed. You know what? Yeah, speed is good, but who cares, really? What we care about is getting it done and getting it done reasonably right, not perfectionism. That's a whole other thing. But the speed makes people crazy. But the other thing is that they won't have a stable foundation underneath them financially from which to do their online stuff. They make it the answer. And so what that does is it creates such stress and panic about really doing one thing that encourages the shiny object syndrome and the doing 60 things. Because you just need to get one piece of the structure built at a time, and if you do that, everything else falls into place.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Joel?
Stephen, great answer, except I'm your biggest problem. No, I'm kidding. I miss you so much it hurts. It's good to see you, my friend. Man. You know, when you've done this for a long time and you've had a team of people that do tasks for you before, I'm a solopreneur again by choice, and it's interesting because I find myself stuck sometimes and disliking certain tasks, and so the big challenge is finding the right joint venture partners that know how to get things done, that can move me from I've got this great idea and I want to execute it, but I'm not going to get it from here to here by myself. And so, you know, the lesson is we really do need a team of people and partners around us that can help us accomplish that which we want to get done. If it's just left to my own devices, I'm just going to travel around, go to events, hang out with my friends, have a glass of wine, and not care if I make a whole lot of money or not. But if I've got the right people around me, I can accomplish so much more, and there's more reward in that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I noticed you've been hitting the event circuit, so you're doing fine on the events. Yeah. Who else wants to talk about this biggest problem?
I'll talk about mine. Okay, sorry.
So that was Janice?
That was Janice, and Kevin, you know what? You're up in the middle of the night. You go first.
Actually, I was going to go grab another cup of coffee, but okay. Actually, my biggest problem, as you probably saw at the beginning of this, is my camera on now or not?
You're doing good.
Yeah.
Okay, see, my biggest problem is technology, and which is really weird. I'm a mechanical engineer, but computer things just have always thrown me. I can't understand what's going inside this box because I don't see gears moving around. So it's been my biggest problem. I ran into it 2 times really badly. Was a couple. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago when I had what was it, money-making oil wells or something like that, MMO, and we had just, no, I think it was actually before that, we had just gotten, we were going to have this big sale going out, and it was going out to this massive crowd, and I think 6 hours before that, I get a notice from my hosting company at that time that our database was using way too much resources, and they shut us down. And I remember sitting, this was still in the old apartment, I had this little office in the kitchen, and instant sweats. It wasn't even hot. But I was sweating buckets. I was freaking out. I mean, what am I going to do now? I got a hold of Mohsen. Mohsen Razul is my dedicated help. He lives over in Pakistan. He's fantastic with stuff like this. Called him up. He got on it, got me switched over to HostGator, and we had everything up and running within the next 2 hours, and I could sit back and enjoy life again. And the second time was with a Warrior Workshop. Again, the whole thing, we overloaded the system, and I had to be quickly switched up to a dedicated server. Got that done. That time, just HostGator took care of it. It was done within an hour. We were back up and running again. So I would say it's like Joel was saying, it's having someone there who can help you with that. Mohsen has always been my go-to guy. One time when I got hacked, I couldn't get a hold of Mohsen, and I used Craig DeSorcy up lives near Tokyo. He got on it and helped me out. Just having those resources there, whether it's somebody you hire, like I'll hire Mohsen per job, or somebody even just having a friend, somebody you can network. And when you're at NAMS, this is fantastic. At NAMS, you're going to meet a lot of people that you can network with. I mean, we've all networked with each other. We've contacted each other when we need ideas or need help with something. And that's the kind of thing you want to do there. And I saw that happening when I was there too, was all these people working together. So take that, get yourself that network, because you'll need them. You're always going to find some time when you need that help.
Okay, good advice. So we do a lot of that at NAMS. We actually have that built into the system so that you have a lot of networking time, and you also have the ability to sit one-on-one with the instructors for 15-minute coaching sessions, and you don't see that many other places where you can actually get a lot of answers to your questions there. So Janice, back to you.
Yeah, so actually Kevin just made me think of something else. So David, you may recall that here on the Marketers Cruise, you and I and Kathy Demers were sitting on a remote beach at Grand Turk Island when I got a text from my VA saying that all my websites had been hacked.
Yep.
Right? And immediately, because we have such a great group at NAMS, we contacted Regina Smola, who's part of your team, who's a security expert, and she took care of it for me. I mean, I was a little bit worried, and she just took care of everything. So having people you can rely on, that's big when you run into problems. But the other thing I was going to say was that for me, if I see the same problems coming up again and again, like Tony had talked about bright, shiny object syndrome, if that's a problem you're dealing with, and certainly I've dealt with that at times, I feel like it's a little knock on the door, and there's a message there I need to stop and pay attention to. So if I don't pay attention to the message, the knock's going to keep getting louder and louder and louder until I decide to hear it. So sometimes repeated problems are really trying to tell you something. Maybe you're heading in the wrong direction, maybe you really need to fix something underneath, whatever it is.
Good point. Good point. Fixing stuff that is underneath the real, the message underneath. So look for that is what you're saying. I love that. I love that. Karen, you want to contribute here? Biggest problem and how you overcame it?
One of the biggest problems, and I was going to talk about networking, but we've already had several people throw stuff in about that, so I'm going to go a different direction. And I think I shared with you, David, this early on when I first started coming to NAMS. I never started even thinking about creating a list until just a few years ago.
Right.
Because before, when I was hanging out primarily in the SEO crowd, that's not something that they were overly concerned about. Google was the one that was feeding them all, or originally Yahoo and all those old search engines and whatever. So it wasn't some major thing that folks in the SEO crowd did. And I started learning more about list building when I began coming to NAMS. I think I showed up at NAMS 3. and started to hear about that and thought, this is kind of interesting, because it had never dawned on me. I mean, we'll fast forward to today. People say, well, I've got all these Facebook followers. I've got thousands of Facebook followers. Well, you don't own those. Zuckerberg owns those. And if he decides to shut down Facebook, there go all your followers. You don't have a way to back them up. You don't have a way to contact them. It's the same thing with all your social media. Poof, it's gone. Google's sending me traffic. I just contact people that come to my website and I stay in touch with them and whatever. We've all seen what happens with Google. One flip of the switch and all your traffic's gone because they readjusted something or instilled a new algorithm or whatever. So in order to have control over how you communicate with people and when and how often, you've got to move all these folks from wherever they are now onto your list. And I just started doing this a few years ago when I started going to NAMS. And it has really made a huge impact in the amount of revenue that's coming into my company, especially when it comes to the training products that Marketing Words offers. Because before, I won't share exact numbers, but we were making X number of dollars a year on the products just from people finding their way to the website. And when we started putting them on a list and began to communicate about these products specifically to the folks that signed up and were interested, all of a sudden sales went through the roof, because now we had a way to do some direct one-on-one communication with them. So it's not just an overstated saying that the money's in the list. The money really is in the list. And even if you've got social media or excellent traffic from Google or whatever, you still need to be working on your list.
You know, one of the things that I remember from you early on that I loved was how excited you were when you started getting affiliate sales.
Yeah.
And that was from your list. Because you hadn't thought about affiliate market either. So that was great. Yeah.
Never dawned on me. Never heard of it before until I came to NAMS. Chris,
you're up. Biggest problem.
Okay, the biggest problem for me was, what was I going to be when I grew up? So I had a very long career, successful career as a CPA and an investment advisor, but I was done with that. I retired, the business was purchased. I did not want to go back there. I mean, it's fraught with regulation and all of that, and I just didn't want to do that. So that was the biggest problem, is what was I an expert at besides that? And over time, I've created an expertise in technology, which it came easy to me anyway. And for the things that I wasn't particularly good at, I've partnered with people like Karen and Janice and Lon Naylor and you know, other folks who could offer some training and help me with some areas that I wasn't as good at. And then I got a coach. Well, I've actually had several. But, you know, in my previous career, I knew what my clients wanted and needed. I knew what they needed, and what they wanted was pretty much the same. It's not always that way now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got people helping me separate those two so that I can do a better job of taking my natural skills and dovetailing them with other things.
Cool. Good. That's an interesting point there. We got a question here that's pretty interesting too, and he refers to it as getting other people unstuck, but I think it's really a problem that we can talk about here, and it's from Gary, and he says, and this is addressed to Tony particularly, how do you get others unstuck? I've shared what I know about starting your own online business and infopreneur information, and there seems to be a failure to launch. How can I decrease this rate of failure? It sounds like a coaching question. You know, I'm coaching other people, and how can I get people to take more results and move on? Tony?
I just addressed this recently in one of the episodes of Expert Media Show, and it was interesting how people responded to it. With the whole failure or loss or fear or failure to launch, sorry, it ultimately comes down to fear of some sort or another, fear of failure, fear of success. And I found that, you know, you can set up tasks and have them complete task checklist, whatever, and that may help them move beyond. But ultimately, I've found that once I've identified what my client is afraid of, like what they're really afraid of, you know, that I won't know what I'm doing, or that people will think I'm something that I'm not, or that what if I fail, or, you know, all of those things. Once you identify that and help them move beyond that, then the task itself is kind of easy to move them into. It's like, oh, what if you do fail? You're going to fail, so just accept that. Let's move on. You're failing now, by the way. So let's.
Not to put you by the point.
Got that one down. So let's keep moving.
Yeah, there was a really good product you guys might remember from many years ago that was called Fail Faster, right? And that one was a really good book that made you look at failure differently and really embrace it. And the more you fail, the more success you end up having. So as long as you embrace it and keep moving forward, one step forward. Right. So before we get to the next and the last question, which is your secret weapon to online business success, I want you to do this a little differently. I want you to tell people your full name and tell them what your website is and what you do, basically. Then tell them what your secret weapon was into being successful with that business. So let's start with Chris. Back to you.
Okay. It's either Chris Cobb or Christine, whichever you want to call me. And that's a whole nother story. We'll do that for another hangout. My secret weapon was NAMS. And I'm not just pandering to you, David, and all of that. But everything that's been successful for me, I've learned either from NAMS, going to NAMS, or the people I've met at NAMS, the friends I've made at NAMS, the friends of friends. I mean, everything points back to NAMS, and that's the reason why I've gone to
12.
It'll be 12 of them now.
Yep.
Unless Gary Huff knocks me off, and because he's trying that to be the longest person in the contest. But
well, there's a little competition going on there. Yeah.
Anyway, everything points back to NAMS in some way.
Well, thank you. And Joel, let's see what that sign say. Oh, we love NAMS. Thank you, Joel. I do appreciate it. So just before we go away from Chris, I did want to, and it's ChristineCobb.com, right? That's your site, ChristineCobb.com.
Yes. ChristineCobb.com.
That you have created as joint ventures with people from NAMS. So I want to say something quickly about Chris before we move on, though, is that we have probably a dozen instructors. We have about 115, 120 instructors now people who have been instructors or are instructors currently at NAMS. And of that 100 or so instructors, we have about a dozen who have been students first. And they came through the system and really built a business, and sometimes from scratch. And Chris is one of those that came through and built a business from scratch and did such a great job of helping people and teaching people step-by-step fashion that we brought her in as an instructor, what, 5, maybe 6 NAMS ago. And she has been doing a great job as an instructor as well, and her business just continues to grow on. And I love seeing students who make it through that rank because they have proved that the system works. So that's great. Janice, you're up. Janice Pettit.
Yeah, just to pick up on what Chris said, I came to NAMS because so many of my colleagues that I was masterminding with, or I was joint venturing with, were teaching at NAMS. And so I ended up coming to NAMS as a result of that, and I continue to learn from them, partner with them. It's just amazing, and it's helped grow my business every single year to push it to the next level. So my main website is smallbusiness-bigresults.com. We have about 7 websites. That's the main one. And, I help people build a strategic business. So You know, a lot of people, especially when they're starting out, David, they do what I call random acts of marketing. You know, just trying a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and nothing really seems to work. So what I help them do is create a map with sales funnels in their business. So they have a solid map, and they literally can sit down every day and work on creating that map with specific instructions for how they're going to make the money they want to make. And I love doing that. It's a lot of fun.
Good. Love that. Joel, you're up next.
Joelcom.com, Caucasian male, 5'10", 195 pounds, size 10 shoe, and
available.
What was the question again?
So the question: what's been your secret weapon, Joel? Was it focus?
Yeah. What? Look, but I just wanted to point out that at NAMS we're going to be launching the second edition of So What Do You Do? The NAMS edition with 42 geniuses from the NAMS group.
I am really proud of this, by the way. I am so proud that this has come together, and it is really a nice. It's a nice artifact from NAMS. I love it.
An artifact. That makes it sound like it's ancient already. No, it's going to be great. The secret to my success. You know, I think as an entrepreneur, we have to be willing to aim for the fences at all times. I'm not satisfied with stepping up to the plate and I want to hit a single. I'm always going for the fence and out into the street, because if you're not shooting, you know, big, if you're not aiming for the moon, then you are going to fall short. And that means you're going to fail more often, because there's no way you're going to hit it every time. And sometimes they're miserable failures, which are just actually delightful because you learn so much from them. But I think the secret to my success is being willing to take risks and look at how people are doing things and say, no, let's do that differently. And it's managed to work.
Excellent. Excellent. Love that. Karen?
The secret to my success over the years has probably been that I am as stubborn as they come. Failure is absolutely not an option, at least not long term. I mean, I fall down, I scrape my knee, I land flat on my face on a regular basis when it comes to business because of trying different things and whatever. But it doesn't matter. I'm not ready not to have an online business anymore, and it will be my choice when I stop doing this, not because something didn't work and it failed. So being stubborn and finding ways over roadblocks and around pitfalls and everything else, and just knowing that until I make the conscious decision that I will not be in business anymore, that I will be in business.
Good for you. I love that answer. That's great. Just don't give up. And you are one of the most stubborn people I know. That's great.
Said with the utmost compassion and love, I hope.
That's right. With the most compassion and love. I love it. Just like a dog with a bone. I love it. Kevin.
Yeah, okay. Kevin Riley, KevinRileyPublishing.com. Taller than Joel Comm. More beard. Yeah, I would say that basically, if we're talking secrets to success, the main thing is I've always been very proactive. I do things. I just take action. I do stupid things. I make dumb mistakes. 2 nights ago, I stepped into the ring with the local champion, and I left blood on the canvas because I got a clock in my nose real good. So yeah, I'll do stuff like that. What the heck? Let's do it, right? Let's go in there. I've done that with my business all the time, and yeah, I've made mistakes, but it's always moved forward, and I think that's the big, really main thing. I've seen this with so many people over the years where they just don't do that. Like, or I get these excuses. It's horrible in my workshops. I hate getting these emails. Well, I fell a little bit behind because life got in the way. I had a cold. So what? We've all got colds. It doesn't stop you from getting your work done. I mean, we're sitting at a computer. It's not like you have to. When I built houses and you had to go out and trudge around in the cold and bang nails, I'm sitting at a computer. It's the easiest work I've ever done. So I hate hearing those excuses. I won't take those excuses, and nobody should make those excuses. Just get it done.
So secret weapon is no excuses, get it done. Love it.
Exactly. Do it.
Stephen, you're up.
Okay, well, great answers, everyone, and some of the similar stuff, which is it's who you surround yourself with and who you decide definitely not to surround yourself with. And very frequently, some of those people who are not the right people to surround yourself with, you may not have a big choice about Xing them out, or may not choose to exercise it because they may be a love, near and dear one. And so you have to really learn to be able to sift through advice and then take that look inside. And like Joel, you said, you know, do I really want to do it that way? To be able to be open, coachable, absorb stuff with an open mind, and then turn it around and say, now what do I really do? What want to do? What feels true to me? And then go for it.
Okay, excellent. Good answer. I love that. So watch who you hang with is what you're saying, and what advice you get.
Very much so.
So what are you doing hanging out with me, Stephen? That makes no sense whatsoever.
You know, I'm trying to fail faster.
There you go. There you go. Tony.
Yeah, Tony Leidig, expertmediashow.com, and I equip people, business professionals, and everyday people on how to create successful information products. That's my gig, step by step. And the big secret of my success, honestly, is all of you and people that I have partnerships with. And I know that it's been a recurring theme, but you know, I've tried to do it by myself. And I've tried to do it with the help of others, and with the help of others is better by a lot. Whenever I started partnering with different ones, joint venture partners, you know, many of whom are NAMS instructors as well, like Daniel Hall, for instance, my business just exploded, and I'm really grateful for that. And we share in each other's lives, we help build each other's businesses, make new connections, and keep building that community out further and further. And NAMS has also been a big part of that as well. And you know, that's why I was drawn to NAMS to begin with, was because of the networking, the partnerships, and the genuine care and support of everyone toward each other. So that's definitely been my biggest point of success.
Excellent. I love that. One of the things we're going to do at this next NAMS workshop as well is that we actually have a session, I think, from Jay and John, John Rhodes and Jay.
Boyer.
Thank you, Boyer. We're going to do a session on partnering, and we've done a lot of sessions on joint ventures. But this is actually a session on choosing and picking the right partner, because that can be a big, I mean, you know, it's true that two heads are better than one, but they're also don't equal two heads. And when you put partners together, they often can come in and give you things that you never would have seen before. So
yeah, the three of us just launched a product together about a month ago, and it was just hugely successful. And it was just amazing to see how the three of us worked together so well, each doing their own part of it. Joel talked about that earlier on in the call, and man, we wouldn't have had the success we had if it wasn't for that partnership.
Well, there you go. So that's a testament to another session that we're going to have at the workshop. And speaking of the workshop, we have probably 35 instructors there. Stephen is going to be teaching a workshop on Monday, and it's a 4-hour add-on workshop. I saw Stephen do a 2-hour session of this in Denver and was blown away. And basically, I watched Brian Johnson be transformed in front of the room. And Brian is, I think, the first sign-up for this session on Monday now. So Stephen, you know, I'm really looking forward to this again, and in more depth. And you know, we'll see who gets in front of the room and gets transformed again when how to do a bigger, more powerful presentation voice. So thank you for that. And then we've got everybody else here is going to be an instructor at this NAMS workshop. So Kevin is doing an add-on on Thursday. Since he's in Japan, he'll be doing a video presentation for us, and it's called Unplugged and Making Money. So what happens when you get unplugged and you still want to make money when you're unplugged? And Kevin is starting a new business, and he's able to tell us how he's doing that without being out there hustling all the time these days. And it has a lot to do with passive income. Isn't that correct, Kevin?
It's correct, and actually not having to check in for a long, long time, so I like to go trekking.
Yeah, I think we see your picture all the time in Switzerland, which is not even close to Japan, so you know.
Yeah, and when I go there, like I told people, there's no internet in the mountains.
That's right. Completely unplugged. And everybody else is teaching as well, so Tony, you have a future NAMster there with you, I see, before we go. You want to introduce her?
I do. This is Princess Maya. This is my granddaughter.
Congratulations. I remember when she was born.
Yeah.
Say hello.
She's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Say hi.
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 All right. Thank you so much, guys, for attending this. This has been another great hour, and you can find the replays. When you click the button that comes back to the site, you'll see that you go straight to the replay page. So this link will actually take you to the replay page this afternoon, and this will be up this afternoon, so you can catch up with this and the previous ones that we've done all week long. So thanks again for attending. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.